Yes, I was DGP Assam when I retired, and have spent more than about 38 plus years on both the banks of the river in places up and down. Well, I like to say that first of all, I think we shouldn't call it a river only. It's a big waterway. It starts from the northern slopes of the Himalayas, from one country, flows into Arunachal, then through Assam, out into another country, and into the Bay of Bengal. So it's quite a long, I think one of the largest rivers in the world. Now, at one point of time, it was a very important waterway. It used to, at least along the Assam Valley, it was used for carrying of troops, for merchandise, for passengers crossing across the river and along the length and breadth. I'm told you had liners going from Guwahati or Dibrugarh on to the ports in the Bay of Bengal through the erstwhile East Bengal, then East Pakistan. But all that came to an end for a variety of reasons. The most important being that there was a geopolitical sort of a development in the sense that there was a major earthquake in the area in the, I think, 1950 or around about that period, and the entire bed of the river rose. So what was just a regular river became a sort of a sea. It was very wide, became very wide. Certain places they are more than 15 kilometers wide, and certain places about a kilometer plus, never less than a kilometer, I think, in any part of the river. This had another effect, was that the bed rose, the channels became irregular. You had shallow waters mostly, and you had certain areas where deep channels were there, and this hindered regular navigation. So only the local boatman could ply, who by the dint of his eyesight and experience could make out the deeper portions of the river and take the boats through. And mostly they were all shallow draft boats, and with later development we had this double hull catamaran type of boats carrying vehicles and larger amount of goods. But then still it was a very vulnerable sort of an experience, in the sense that crossing, which would normally take about an hour, would probably take you around 3 hours, because you are crisscrossing across the width of the river, and linear navigation became a difficult task, as also night navigation. This is an important point which they should consider. Secondly, because of the rising of the bed, and another important factor is that the river is not alone. It is mostly fed with very big rivers flowing from the southern slopes of the Himalayas into the river. There are tributaries all the way from Arunachal right up to Bengal border, major rivers which bring in a lot of water. And earlier the river flow could take this input, but then with the depth rising and the river becoming shallow, it could not handle this inflow, and you started having water erosions on either bank of the Brahmaputra. So actually the floods were caused by the tributaries coming into the Brahmaputra. This led to a lot of erosion of land, but also led to the throwing up of islands in the river. There are a number of islands on the river and land banks along either side of the river. Their habitations have did come up. I mean, so you can say that you lost land, you also gained land, but then one doesn't know what you lost and what you gained, because a general survey is difficult to undertake in such circumstances, because the topography changes every year with every flood season. That apart, then because of the shallowness of the river, the fish life became affected. One point of time, it must have been a very thriving fishing industry there in the river, but now fishing is possible only in limited spots. Moreover, there is a endangered species called the river dolphin, which used to abound in Brahmaputra, and now, according to Dr. Das, they have gone into the tributaries. They are no longer available in the main river. So then, because it's the location of the river and the civilization on either side of the river, on either bank, there's a lot of boat traffic across the river, which is very difficult to police, because you can only imagine the size and magnitude if you go into the middle of the river. I've been in a single engine boat, the RFID, even a double hull catamaran type of a boat. But once you're in the middle of the river, you're in a sea. You don't know. There is no horizon. There's only horizon. There's no shore. You cannot see any shore. So much so it becomes very difficult. You're lost, and it's difficult to spot any vehicle crossing even a short distance away. So there are various challenges in this aspect: how to police the river, how to keep a track of the vehicle, and if possible, how to keep a track of the silting of the river and how the channels open up, because you might go in one channel in one direction, and after a couple of hours when you come back, the channel no longer exists. You have to find another channel. So these are all live problems which occur in the river due to its size, the flow of water, and as I said earlier, the rising bed. These are various problems, I think, which the panelists here might have their own experiences about them, and I hope they'll be able to offer some viewpoints on their own, and also that the Maritime Center would be able to devise ways of they're trying to use the technology used in the oceans to track ships and naval vessels, to adapt a sort of a sonar technology in the river to track boats, which would be very helpful in the years to come, since now we find that river traffic is being opened up between the, shall we say, central India and up to northeast and through Bangladesh into the Bay of Bengal. So saying that, I would like to throw open the subject for discussion and thank once again Dr. Das for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.